About staff changes today that was very false. We made a wonderful change. I think Mike Pompeo is going to be an incredible Secretary of State. We have some wonderful ideas. I've gotten to know a lot of people over the last year. You know, I've been in Washington for a little bit more than a year, where some people have been here for 30, 40 years. I've gotten to know great people. So there'll always be change, but very little. It was a very false story. It was a very exaggerated and false story. But there'll always be change, and I think you want to see change. And I want to also see different ideas. Larry Kudlow just came in a little while ago, and I think Larry is going to be outstanding as economic advisor. So we look forward to it.
More now with Chief White House Correspondent John Roberts. John?
Kimberly, good afternoon to you. Not sure exactly which report the president is referencing there as a false report, but Fox News was saying last night and earlier today that there were some expected staff changes ahead. They may number anywhere between 2 and 4, depending on the timing. And we were told by sources inside and close to the White House, but outside yesterday, that some of these changes were imminent. A couple of the changes that have been talked about, there's an awful lot of chatter about this one. Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Dr. David Shulkin, may be removed from his post. We are told by numerous officials in the White House and people outside that he has lost the confidence of the president to some degree based on the findings of an Inspector General's report, as well as the travel where he had taxpayers foot the bill to take his wife to Europe. He later reimbursed the Treasury for that. But the president has always made Veterans Affairs a real priority. And if he's got somebody in there who he doesn't think is managing it as well as it could be managed, then he might make a change. There were some rumors yesterday that Rick Perry, the Secretary of Energy, might be the replacement, but I'm told by White House officials that both the president and Perry have said he's not moving to the VA. So another name that is floating to the surface, one that will be very familiar to viewers of Fox News, Pete Hegseth, who used to be the CEO of Concerned Veterans of America and is well-versed in veterans issues and how to restructure the VA. Fox and Friends host. His name is making the rounds again here at the White House as a possible replacement for Shulkin. A couple of other items that may be in the offing sooner rather than later. H.R. McMaster, the National Security Advisor, has been rumored to not have a great relationship with the president for a long time. There's a possibility he could leave, and that John Bolton, the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, may take his place. When it comes to the VA, Sarah Huckabee Sanders earlier today was asked about any staff changes. Here's what she said.
I don't have any personnel announcements, but I can tell you that every day we're looking for how we can better the system, whether it's through policy changes or personnel changes, not just at the top level, but across the board. We've already made a number of changes within the personnel and made sure that we're looking at how we can best serve our nation's veterans.
But the president again saying that such talk about changes is a false story. But I'm told by some people that he's getting tired, Kimberly, of these daily stories of the drip, drip, drip of staff departures and the chaos, and better to rip the bandage off all at once, get it all out of the way, then regroup and keep going forward. Kimberly?
Okay, well, it seems a little bit like that, Gina.
We'll see.
John, thank you so much. All right, Dana, so lots of developments. We've been hearing kind of a steady stream of information about people that might be exiting the White House, different people that perhaps the president didn't feel that the relationship was gelling in the way, or perhaps it's just time to move on. So there's quite it's almost like a Broadway play at this point, but the cast of characters that keeps developing in terms of, you know, who might be leaving, in what order, progression, and who the possible candidates and replacements are. From a communication perspective, what do you think of the way this is sort of being disseminated and handled, and how could perhaps they do it better?
Well, I think that every president should have people working for him or her that they can trust and that they have confidence in, and change is not necessarily bad. But from a communication standpoint, the easiest story to cover in Washington is personnel changes. And if you want to force the media to cover your accomplishments, then you're going to have to, like, serve them vegetables. But if you are serving up every day anonymous sources about somebody's in, somebody's out, and then having the president talk about it, then it is likely that they're going to eat dessert first. It's inevitable.
Okay, well, there we go. All right, Greg.
I guess it feels more like a business and less of a bureaucracy, because bureaucracy, you get pretty comfortable bringing your box of pictures and photos, put it on your desk. You can't do that with Trump. You don't know what's going to happen. I have to adjust my lens for the last 18 months of what this White House is like. And I guess in this Trump era, I will take staff chaos over, stylized videos of decapitations of Westerners and journalists. I mean, if this is the kind of news that we are covering, I don't mind it. I'd rather hear about the staff changes. It's to me, it's just part of life. It's better than seeing ISIS every day. I think this is progress.
Okay, all right, Jesse.
Well, you called it a Broadway play, and I put the cast into groupings because that's how I understand things. So you have the nationalists, the Bannon, Sessions, and the Millers. The businessmen, Cohn, Ross, Mnuchin, and Tillerson.
Yes.
The establishment, Reince and Spicer. We know what happened to them. You have the loyalists, Hope, Kellyanne, and Schiller. And then the brass, Mattis, McMaster, and Kelly. But the family, Ivanka and Jared, the only thing I can derive from that grouping is the family's ascendant, and they're not going anywhere. And in terms of the staff change, it looks very random. I don't know if you can really derive that much of a pattern there, but the pattern, to me at least, seems he's putting in place people that he trusts and that like him. It's very important for the people that surround the president to support the president's agenda, agree with the president's agenda, and then personally like the president. We've heard a lot of people that are kind of doing their duty and kind of rolling their eyes, and those leaks really, I think, hurt the president and do him a very big disservice. So he's consolidating the group of people that are around him. He still likes the diversity of opinion, still kind of that serves him well, but at the same time, he wants to have people that surround him, that agree with him and like him. And I think it's safe to say Kellyanne's safe, and Stephen Miller's safe, and Sarah Sanders is doing an excellent job. But Trump's all about change, and I don't think that's ever going to stop.
It's funny, your language, safe, like an episode of Survivor.
Yeah, safe.
Safe makes you the next
Tribal
week.
Council survived.
Okay.
Yeah, so we both picked up on the idea that you said this is like a Broadway play, and to me, it's not the Broadway play so much as reality TV. And if you want to get in the show, you have to get into like the Fox green room because apparently that's the staging area to move folks in. But I would say
slow down on the hate.
Well, that's not hate. I mean, it's a fact. I mean, like he says, oh, you journalists, fake news, no chaos here. It's obvious to everybody if you just open your eyes and take a look. I mean, this is 3 times the amount of change in Obama's first year, 2 times the amount of change in, let's say, Ronald Reagan's first year. I mean, we don't see things like this. And people come and go in a way that I think is a little unsettling.
I heard Kilmeade is going to be on the Supreme Court.
Adults in the room. And if there are adults in the room, it looks like the adults, people like McMaster, who's apparently on the gangplank, and Tillerson, and now even Kelly. The idea is, well, who are the adults? Instead, he's going to people who I think are like an echo chamber for him, who simply tell him, yes, man style, what he wants to hear. And that's a little unsettling.